that I stare, there's nothing else to compare. The sight of you leave me weak, there are no words left to speak. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real. You're just so good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for joining us. The 15th of October 2024. We are so excited to have you this evening, and we are looking forward to learning, engaging, and just taking away something that we can support our organizations in employee engagement, and especially during these tough times. And you know, for example, in Kenya, there are so many changes that have been taking place in the last 1 year. That a lot of employees, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of what do we call it? There's a lot of tough times, so to speak. A lot of changes required in the workplaces, and therefore we seek to see how then do we still get to have engaged employees regardless of how tough times we are experiencing. My name is Grace Nzula. I'm the host of Get It Right with Atara Solutions. Get It Right with Atara Solutions is a webinar series. We seek to demystify issues in employment and entrepreneurship. We do this every day. We are on season, I have lost count. We started in 2020. We are now in 2024. And surprisingly, our seasons run for the entire year. So we are here from January to November. Discussing matters that affect employees and employers. And therefore, that is what the Get It Right is about. And I hope that you've been getting it right. If you're joining us for the first time and you wish to catch up on what's happening on Get It Right with Atara Solutions, you can check out our YouTube channel. There's a lot there. And if you want to know what's coming up, we will be sharing our WhatsApp group. You can feel free to join, and you can be updated on what's going on with Get It Right with Atara Solutions. So Atara Solutions is also brought to you by Atara Solutions Limited, which is a HR consulting and training company. We offer 4 services. We have HR manager outsourced. For those organizations that don't seek to have a full-time HR, we do HR outsourcing, HR audits, or rather not HR outsourcing, HR consulting. We have HR audits, we review your policies, among others. We do recruitment and selection. We also do learning and development. It's the team building season. Please reach out to us for your team building needs, and we will be able to support your teams, as well as any training requirements that you may have. It's that time of the year. With me are my 2 co-hosts. We have Richard, and I've just seen Catherine Sidandi, who has just joined us. So I'll allow Richard to introduce himself, and then we will recognize Catherine, and then we can move on. Take it away, Richard. You're on mute.
Thank you very much, Moderator of Change. You're looking great. How are you doing? Welcome back. We are happy to have you. And of course, this is the moment that we always get it right, understanding business, understanding our careers, so that we can be the best versions of ourselves. I am Richard J. Magoma, a human resource practitioner, a trainer, and most importantly, things that I've come to like of recent is public speaking training and interview preparation. Over to you, Grace.
Thank you, Richard. I am really grateful that you have been able to hold fort in my absence. I am very lucky to have you as a co-host. And I hope that this opportunity is also opening doors for you. And of course, we have our sign language interpreter, Madam Catherine Sidandi, who is doing an amazing job. You guys, if you have a training happening in your institutions or in anywhere that you wish to engage people, please get a sign language interpreter so that we can be inclusive. It doesn't take much, just a phone call away for Catherine to join you. And you're able to also reach out to more people, especially those with hearing impairment. So we are grateful to you, Catherine Sidandi, and we are looking forward to meeting you very soon at the IHRM annual conference happening sometime in October. So allow me to give a shout out to some of our partners very quickly, so that we can now move on to the topic of the day. Okay. I was wondering where my screen was, but in a bit. Okay. Okay. Clearly, I have been away for a while. Richard has been acing this thing. But yeah, there we are. So we have Nilefront Cottages. Nilefront is a hotel located in Jinja, Uganda. If you're in Uganda and you have not been to Nilefront Cottages, please make a point of visiting them. And it's actually owned by one of our fellow HR professionals. Please visit Nilefront Cottages. It has some of the most beautiful views I have seen. They also run a restaurant called Skia. Skia is a restaurant that is served. The people who serve there have hearing impairment. It is such a beautiful place. They have the best ice cream in the entire of Jinja. Please visit Nilefront Cottages and then take a trip. It's about 5 minutes to see where River Nile meets Lake Victoria. It's such a beautiful site, and you can fish and get the fish freshly done for you. We have Elsamere. Elsamere is a hotel located in Naivasha. If you want to take a vacation, vacation, solo vacation, it is that time of the year. Please go and treat yourselves too. I mean, you have worked so hard. Come on, visit Nilefront Cottages or Elsamere here in Naivasha, in Kenya. And then we have K-Square HR Services. K-Square HR Services are our partners in Rwanda. If you wish to get support in HR matters in Rwanda, then K-Square HR Services are your people. We have Profiles International for those of you who want to become Genius Emotional Intelligence coaches, or you want to understand psychometric assessments, you need to get in touch with Profiles International. They'll be able to support you and your team, especially in your recruitment areas. Or if you, as a HR practitioner or a business owner who is on the call and you wish to understand how to conduct what do we call them? Psychometric assessments, then Profile International are your people. We have Steadfast Quality Solutions. Steadfast Quality Solutions is an organization owned by our partner in Uganda, Herbert Zake. Herbert Zake is Gallup strengths coach who has coached over 500 executives. He is in Kampala. If you're looking for board evaluation services, board training services, then Steadfast Quality Solutions will be your people. We have AAR Insurance for all your insurance needs, medical, WIBA, any other insurance that you may need, then AAR will be your people. We have Labor Planet. Labor Planet are into labor outsourcing. We have Kapula Mintito. Kapula Mintito sell coastal snacks for those in Kenya. They have mapochopocho ya pwani. If you're looking for Simos gel, if you're looking for cashew nuts, they have one of the best. Oh my God, we actually are looking forward to have some of them on the 15th of November. Then we have Panessa Training Institute for all your carpentry training. We have Wicklin, our carpet cleaning and office cleaning solutions. You please do not stay with a dirty, dusty carpet. It has been very dusty in Nairobi. Please, Wicklin will be able to pick that out for you. They'll be able to clean and deliver it at the comfort of your home. So you really don't have to struggle. How are you going to fold your carpet? Who is going to pick it up? So do you pack? They will come and pick it up from you, and then they'll deliver it back. Then we have Hotel Sapphire. Hotel Sapphire is located at the heart of Mombasa town. Hotel Sapphire has their mahamri with what do we call them? This thing with coconuts. Richard, Richard is gone. Where, Catherine? What do we call it?
Mbaazi.
Mbaazi wa nazi. Hotel Sapphire have the tastiest, and then their bajia, viazi karai. Oh my God! And then the ambience. They have a very beautiful band that plays there every Friday. And if you wish for airport transfers, my friend, that limo of theirs, I totally enjoyed myself. Please, if you have a training in Mombasa, or if you are looking for a place to just chill, please go to Hotel Sapphire. You can drop name, by the way. You can say, I heard you from Matara Solutions, Grace, and you can be assured of very good discounts, including for accommodation. And we have Port Sacco. If you're looking to join a Sacco, then you need to consider Port Sacco for your savings and loan services. And then we have, of course, our program run by our very own Richard Bagoma. If you're going for an interview, please don't go blind. Get in touch with Richard and he'll be able to prepare you for that interview so that you can be able to ace it. Because, I mean, things are thick, things have, Yes, there are only opportunities for the best. So come and practice with Richard, and he'll be able to prepare you and give you tools to show up for your interview and be able to get the job. So get in touch with Richard Magoma. And then I would like to welcome you to the Africa Human Resource Summit. This is happening in Rwanda, Kigali on the 20th to 22nd of November. Come, let's go and interact with fellow HR professionals in Africa. We have quite a number of speakers from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, among all these other places in Africa, where they'll be meeting in one place in Kigali, Rwanda, from the 20th to 22nd of November. Please come, let's engage, let's network, let's learn together. And then, of course, welcome to the IHRM annual conference, which is happening on the 29th to 1st of November, 29th of October to 1st of November. It will be a conversation like no other. This year's theme is focusing on transformation and changing Africa, not just Kenya. We are just going global. We are just opening avenues for togetherness as professionals in the entire of Africa. So that is the focus for this year. And of course, our end of year Get It Right with Atara Solutions meet and greet for those in Nairobi will be happening on the 15th of November. Dress code is a touch of Africa. And tomorrow morning, we are going to be dropping that flyer with details on the location. But please, please save the date, 15th of November, here in Nairobi for the meet and greet, Get It Right with Atara Solutions meet and greet. I think this will be the fourth one since Get It Right with Atara Solutions started. All right, so without further ado, allow me to introduce our speaker of the day. He is my good friend, and his name is Joseph Ajal. I was about to put quite a number of initials. Coach Joseph Ajal, CTP, Agake, those things. But yeah, anyway, yeah, he says what? Joseph Ajal, ACC. Yes, CTP as well. Anywho, so Ajal has been in HR for 21 years. He's an executive coach with 6 years of experience. So if you're looking for a coach, please, Joseph Ajal will be your person. And he's a HR consultant with a company called Precision HR. And he has done quite a number of created impact in quite a number of places in this let's call it the world. I think calling it a region will be undermining his expertise. So Joseph is a certified coach with ICF. He is a certified talent practitioner. He's a chartered HR business partner. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Project Management. He is a certified Balanced Scorecard professional by George Washington University, a certified Confrey Hey job evaluator. He is a Toastmaster. He works with C-suite executives, middle managers, first-time managers, graduate learners, startup founders across a broad spectrum of sectors, including FMCG, banking, NGOs, etc. He has quite a number of years of experience, and he's one person when he comes to get it right. He never shares the screen. So for those of you who just come here to ask for notes, well, unfortunately, there's no death by PowerPoint like we make fun with Joseph Ajal. So he's an amazing consultant, and he does quite a lot. I'm sure he'll be telling us more about that. Welcome, Ajal. Please take it away. Tell us how we can engage our staff regardless of the tough times.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Grace and Atara Solutions, for providing the platform. Thank you very much, Richard Magoma and Catherine Sidandi on sign language interpretation. I'm also honored to express gratitude to my Ugandan family. My actual family is here on call, Divine is on call, and the rest of the team from Precision HR. As you can see, I'm branded. Sorry, Grace, we're partners, aren't we? So we can't afford to not wear our brands as we come along. I saw a whole slide deck full of logos of partners. So when it comes to Get It Right with Atara Solutions, we've been part of this for the last, I'd say 3 years. The first time we did a Get It Right webinar was, I believe, in 2021. Yeah, so we've been at it for the last 3 years, and I've seen it move from just Kenya to hosting panelists from Rwanda, from Uganda. I think Uganda is probably your second biggest home now in terms of followers. So lots of HR practitioners from Uganda follow Atara Solutions. Of course, we know that Herbert Zake is leading at the forefront of pushing the brand for Get It Right with Atara Solutions. We have lots of HR practitioners. I just want to acknowledge you from Uganda, from the Human Resources Managers Association of Uganda, from the HR Fan House, all of these people. You know yourselves. I won't mention you in case I get in trouble with some of you. Chikositen, shouts out to Chikositen and Entebbe Road, whoever lives along that side. But this is a global platform, so I don't want to make it all about Kampala or Uganda or Entebbe. Friends in Nairobi, obviously, I always enjoy your company when I come to Naivasha, to Nairobi to speak at your IHRM conventions, to Mombasa, friends in Dar es Salaam, friends in Mwanza, in Arusha. It's always fun spending time with you. So today we're talking about engagement. Engagement, like you can already imagine what it's about. It's employee engagement or staff engagement. Staff engagement is the level of emotional connection that exists between employees and the organization that employs them. So let's cut down to the chase. Every single one of us who has a contract, either for services or of services, is in one way, shape, or form either employed or given an assignment. When it comes to us who are consultants in the consulting world, the likes of Richard, Grace, and many of you here on call, the likes of Herbert Zake, and so on and so forth. Normally, the kinds of contracts we sign with our clients are contracts for services. We sign a contract to provide services, and that contract can be a one-off. It could be an hour's assignment. It could be 1 hour's coaching session. It could be a day's assignment, a training engagement, an outdoor team building exercise, for example. It could be a facilitation of a board and governance training for a day or two. So it can be a one-off, so it's a contract for services. But like most of you on call, you are employed for a company or with an organization. In other words, you post time and intellectual ability and competencies and skills. You provide services. It's a contract of service. You are in service of that employer. Now, civil servants, your contracts normally say in the service of the government of Kenya, GOK, in the service of public service of the government of Uganda, GOU, in the service. For as long as you're employed, whether it's 8 to 5, 9 to 5, you are in service. So it's a contract of service. Doreen and Dinda from Airtel, I see you on call. It's a contract of service. You might be working for United Nations. It's a contract of service. So there's a contractual legal obligation that exists between you and your employer. The moment you get your terms and conditions, T's and C's apply. You get your job description, you get your letter, your offer letter, you get your agreement or contract of employment. You are in service of that employer. However, does that necessarily mean you are engaged? No, not at all. You see, engagement goes beyond the legal contractual obligations that exist between you and your employer. You might be employed, but disengaged. You might even not be employed, but extremely engaged to the brand and supportive of it. You might be an associate. You might be an affiliate. You might be a consultant. The kind of contract you have with that particular client is a contract for services. It's not even a contract of service. So the legal ramifications are not as solid and as strong for a contract for services. All you have to do is show up, do the service, present the report. If it's acceptable, invoice, you're paid and off you go. So you're not compelled to stay attached to this particular brand called AAR, if I may use the example of AAR. Because today it might be AAR, tomorrow it might be another insurance company, another medical care company. And it's okay. There is nothing that prevents you. But if you work for that company legally 8 to 5, you have a contract of employment. You cannot simply walk away between 8 and 5 to another employer and start giving similar services. So with a contract for employment, with a contract of employment, a contract of service, you are in service of that particular employer. You are expected to have higher levels of engagement. Expected is the key word. But are you necessarily engaged? Are you necessarily engaged? No. You're not necessarily engaged. Why? It's possible to be emotionally detached from the organization you work for. It's possible to have a legal contract with an organization, but the legal contract does not go to the level of an emotional attachment. So whilst you have a legal contract with that organization that says, these are the terms and conditions of your job, this is your job description, this is how many hours you must work a day, you are not engaged. You might be disengaged or actively disengaged. You might be passively disengaged or actively disengaged. Now, surprise, surprise, you will want to know what's the percentage of staff worldwide who are either actively engaged or actively disengaged. I have news for you. Over 50%, slightly over 50% of staff all over the world are disengaged. And you yourself who is listening to this webinar right now, you might be disengaged. I'm sorry, it's just what it is.
Unachoma.
Sichomi, naongea ukweli. 50% or slightly more of all employees, including many, because 50%, how many are we on call? 139. If all 139 of us were employed, that's about 140, round it off. It means 70 of us, or slightly more, 71 or 72, are disengaged. Okay? What about active disengagement? Now, active disengagement does not stop at just being disengaged. Active engagement goes beyond being disengaged. It means you are actively looking for another job. Not only are you actively looking for another job, you might also be spreading the vibes to other people. So you're recruiting, in other words, you're telling other people, I am not happy in this place, but I also want you to be unhappy with me. So let's go back again. Gallup surveys, this is a global survey organization. They do annual surveys of people and culture. What are the percentages? In February 2024, 30% of employees, only 30% are engaged. As of February this year, only 30% are actively engaged. And 70% are actively disengaged. Actively means they are not only unhappy at the work, but they are looking for work elsewhere. And they are also spreading vibes. They're spreading the negative energy. They're spreading the toxicity. So do the numbers for yourself. If 47 are disengaged, how many? Sorry, if 47, okay, so 30% are actively engaged, and then 17% are actively disengaged. So what does that leave us with? 53 are disengaged. Disengaged means they are neither here nor there. They're not happy, but they're not actively looking to leave. At the same time, they still get motivated by the benefits that they receive at the end of the month. It could be a salary. It could be a mortgage. They're in a long-term contractual obligation with the employer and with their banker. So the home they live in is on a mortgage maybe of 10 years, or even 20 years, or even 5 years. So for the duration of time, they might not exactly love their work. Neither may they like their boss or their co-workers. But they have a mortgage. And they're thinking to themselves, if I quit now, not only will the house get foreclosed, and I'll be rendered, and number one, unemployed, number two, homeless, and number three, in financial trouble. So it pays to stick around. Or they could have a bond. The employer could have sponsored them to go and study a course, an MBA, for example, an ACCA, a CPA, an HR certification like CIPD or SHRM. So that means that they cannot leave quickly, even if they wanted to, because they have a legal and financial obligation to the employer that they must first honor. So 53% of people are disengaged. And of those 53%, additionally, 17 are actively disengaged. And only 30% are engaged. So for every 10 people, 3 are actively engaged. So, newsflash. Grace, I wanted to start off with that. Over to you.
You're stressing my life already. So I'm just busy thinking, so my staff members, where are we? But I'm like, okay, fine. And we welcome you to bring us questions. But I'm just thinking, Ajal, so how then do we deal with the 70% to make sure we at least switch up? And is it okay to have a workforce that is, or rather, is it possible to actually have the entire 100% workforce 100% engaged?
Wow. I honestly would like to say no, realistically speaking, because people have different needs at different times. Somebody who is actively engaged today might be disengaged tomorrow because the company no longer serves their needs. They have outgrown the job. They joined as a fresh graduate from university with no experience. They have gained 5 to 6 or 10 years experience. The company might be a startup, meaning it can only afford to pay them so much. The quality of skills they now have and competencies they now have can put them in competition with a stronger organization, stronger employer with bigger benefits. So it's normal, actually, to start to move. But the important thing is to have those conversations with your line manager. Because talent management requires that there's also mobility of talent. If there's gridlock in talent management, we call that gridlock. If there's gridlock of talent, it's not healthy for the organization. If you think about a crater lake that does not have any life in it, some of you who come from the western part of Uganda, southwestern part of Uganda specifically, there's a district there called Bushenyi. Bushenyi, Shema, that whole area, Bunyaruguru. There are some crater lakes near Lake George and Lake Edward and Lake George. There are some crater lakes in Bunyaruguru, that area of southwestern, as you're driving from Mbarara Ibanda to Kasese, somewhere in between. They are nestled there around Bunyaruguru area. Now, some of those crater lakes do not have life in them because they were not formed by the creation of tributaries. They don't have a river flowing in and out like River Nile flowing in and out of Lake Victoria. They don't have tributaries. They don't have wings where water flows out and in other areas water comes in. When that happens with freshwater lakes and rivers, you have life, you have fish, you have frogs, you have butterflies, you have amphibians, all sorts of living things in that water because it's living water, it's fresh. With the crater lakes, the water is not fresh. So you don't find any frogs there, you don't find any, and it's salty. You don't find fish because that water has been stagnant for years and years. The only thing that lets water in is rain and out is evaporation. So it does not sustain life because it's got no tributaries. It was that water filled up because craters were formed in the rocks due to seismic activity many years ago. And that is what is gathering that water. It's not necessarily letting the water go out or come in. So it doesn't sustain life. Now, organizations also, if you want to look at the flip side or the bright side, if a disengaged employee is one who is a poor performer, very poor performer, not only are they a poor performer, but they also have bad vibes. They have toxic energy around them that affects other people. As an employer, you don't want that person to be engaged. You want them to actually leave, if possible. So when a person like that leaves, how you know that you're tolerated or celebrated in an organization is when a person like that leaves. If you're celebrated, the day this person attempts to resign, the meeting is caused immediately. We try and talk to them. We try and give them an counter offer. We try and match up. Where are you going? What are they offering you? Is it me? Is it the leader? Is it us? Is it our culture? We try and talk this person out of that decision. So we can actually bring them back from being disengaged to being actively engaged. If, however, they are the sort whose performance is questionable and whose vibe is negative, when they leave, you celebrate. So in other words, you tolerated them whilst they were with you. So they were never celebrated. So when they leave and they have a 2 months notice or 1 month's notice, you tell them you can even go without serving notice. It's okay. You're quick to give a resignation acceptance. Quickly you say, oh you've resigned with effect from 15th of October 2024. Accepted. Please hand over everything you have in your possession to HR and sign out. So you expedite. You can even tell them, we shall pay you in lieu of notice. Don't even bother serving the notice. We shall pay you 2 months or 3 months salary in lieu of notice. We'll pay your gratuity, your benefits. It means this person's disengagement was long overdue. You wanted them to leave. Maybe you just didn't want to go through the legal ramifications of going through a separation process because it's quite messy and it could end up in the industrial court. And more than 90% of the time, cases that go to the industrial court are judged in favor of the employees as opposed to the employers. So you want to avoid the messiness of going through the legal process, the legal ramifications and the litigation. So you don't want to necessarily fire them. So if they are disengaged, as an employer, you're watching from a distance, you're like, I'm not going to help you to get more engaged. I actually want you to leave. So it's to look at it from both sides, not just as a negative thing. The first reason is the person has outgrown the organization. So they should leave and find something more exciting and more rewarding, which is good. And they remain a good brand ambassador. They might be disengaged now, but they're not toxic. They're not actively spreading vibes. They can leave and still be a good brand ambassador. They could even still remain an associate or a consultant. So that's okay. If, however, their disengagement is of the negative kind and they're spreading toxic vibes and they're causing other people to become disengaged, they are converting the others who are passively engaged to become actively disengaged, then that's not a good thing. Yeah.
Okay, so I hear you. However, we still want the 70% performers, positive vibes, great energy, people to still stay engaged. So what are some of the tools or strategies that we can employ to have a staff now, the 70% we care about, to actually stay engaged?
The ones that we care about staying and want to increase that number, we actually we're not happy to have the number low. We're happy to keep the number growing. The 50% who are, 50 to 53% who are actively sort of like there. They're not really 50 to 53% are disengaged, but they're not actively disengaged. In other words, they're not looking to quit immediately. They are just doing enough to get the job done, which in some cases is not even bad. Plus, of course, you have your 17% who are very actively engaged. You can step up and increase the percentages of engagement using a couple of tools. Perks and benefits, we call them perquisites. In short, we call them perks, but the long version of it is perquisites. Perquisites and benefits. paid holiday. I worked for an employer in the past who used to pay us to go on leave. You're on leave, but you actually get an extra salary, an extra full month salary whilst on leave. Yes, you are paid to go on leave. And then you have access to facilities like banks. Most employees with their monthly salary will never, may never, let me not use the word will, may never earn enough or make enough to make a down payment on a house, on a, maybe they could probably afford land, but the construction costs might be very high depending on which neighborhood they are constructing in, or afford a decent car, or afford to take their kids to good schools. Sometimes it could even be a one-off to take their children to university, for example. So giving them access to benefits, sometimes the employers themselves give loans, other times they connect them to banks, they give a letter of undertaking. That's not a liability on your part as an employer. All you're doing is you're enabling access to this employee to go to the bank and to access a mortgage or a salary loan. Sometimes it could be collateral or without collateral. Salary loans do not have a collateral. All they need from you is your salary goes through this bank account maybe for the last 2 or 3 months or 6 months. Your bank statement is healthy. Your credit reference bureau card, your credit record is healthy as well. The employer is writing a letter. You have your pay slips every month. You're not encumbered. You're not already in debt with some other financial institutions, so they can check all that record on your credit reference bureau card, and then eventually they'll give you that access to that facility, so you can actually acquire a home, acquire property, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the ways, and I can assure you it's a very strong retention tool. It's a retention tool to the employer. The employer cares about you, but they also want you to work for them for a while. Now, if you have a mortgage, the biggest retention tool is just keeping you there. Because when you move, especially for those who work in banks, when you move out of the bank, the mortgage rate, the interest rate moves to the commercial rate, whereas the banking rate for the staff who work for the bank is low, more often than not. It's lower than the commercial rate by sometimes 5 or even 10 percentage points. So staying in that particular bank where you're already currently employed is cost effective for you. It's cheaper as far as processing or facilitating your mortgage is concerned. The other thing is study benefits. A number of employers give their employees study benefits. Whilst they try and do what we call bonding, bonding is not legally enforceable by law. It's not enforceable by the law. You cannot now go to court and say, I gave Grace Zula certification. I sponsored her to do a certification in CIPD, and then she resigned after 2 months. So she was on a bond with me for 2 years. So now I'm going to take her to court. It's not enforceable. It's good to have it. It acts as a deterrent, but it cannot be enforced in the law. So what happens is that when an employee feels an emotional obligation and attachment, that is what we call engagement. It's that unwritten thing. It's not what is on the contract, because I can have the finest contracts and still not adhere to them. And I may not have a contract at all, but I'm still engaged in terms of having a commitment. There are some volunteers who are very engaged. There are some freelancers who are very engaged. A contract of employment does not necessarily have to be one that is legally written. Some of you in your homes, you employ nannies, you employ maids, you employ chambermen, you employ gardeners, you employ what we call home managers. Some of these home managers have contracts of employment which are signed, but I can bet you my last shilling, majority of them do not have a signed legal contract. Does it mean you don't have an employment contract with them? Absolutely not. You have a contract with them, despite the fact that it's not written or signed, but you have a contract because you pay them every month. You give them access to a job. You provide them a job, and then you pay them for that job. That's a contract, and it's legally enforceable. This maid can actually sue you for non-compliance to the terms and conditions of the employment, if at all you breached it, obviously. And we're not encouraging anybody to breach it because we want to show respect to the people that support us in our homes. They're useful. So those are some of the things we can do. Engagement also includes team building. As consultants, Grace, you, myself, and Richard, we've been called upon to facilitate team building activities for so many organizations. These organizations, these staff members suffer burnout. They get exhausted. They are fatigued. So they need a retreat. They go somewhere to Naivasha, they go to Mombasa, they go to Jinja, they go to Lake Bunyonyi in Kabale, they go to whichever part of the world they might, Dubai. Some of them can afford to take them to Singapore and Dubai and so on. So when you go to these places, you're facilitating engagement. You're increasing the emotional connection with the brand to say, our employer cares enough about us. Those are small benefits, but they help. They help the people to decompress, to distress, and to stay connected emotionally to your brand for a longer time. Okay? So education grants, education support, think about team building activities, think about perks, like giving people laptops. Some organizations give you a laptop to take. They give you a smartphone to take with even a plan, with data, airtime, or access to the closed user group where you call each other for free, and even your family can be added onto the CUG, the closed user groups. Those of you who work in Airtel, you know what I'm talking about. I've seen some of my former colleagues from Airtel here. So these are benefits. Bankers, the benefits you give your staff. Access, you can create a circle. There's more power in unity. So you create a staff circle. These circles help the staff with their financial wellness. Okay? Employee assistance programs. Employee assistance programs mean that you provide psychosocial support to your staff when they're dealing with stress, burnout, depression, financial difficulties. You have access to pro bono legal services if they need those. Because a lot of times these days, to go through life in this corporate world for the entire duration of 20, 30, 40 years without ever needing to have a lawyer is extremely rare, next to impossible. You will need a lawyer at some point. You might need a lawyer to go to court for an adoption matter. You might need a lawyer to go to court for a divorce matter. Things happen. Sometimes marriages fail through some fault or sometimes through no fault of the parties. That's why sometimes court says we can't simply find fault, but there are irreconcilable differences. I'm not saying that I encourage it, of course not. I believe in family very much, but it has happened. We've seen it with colleagues, and now when this colleague is going through this, they might become disengaged, not because the work is bad or the employer is bad. No, the situation at home is not permeating them to have an easy life. So it's your responsibility as the employer to provide employee assistance programs such that they can go to see a counselor or a therapist at your cost as the employer. And that way, they're helped to stay engaged. Financial stress. He may have suffered the loss of a loved one who went through hospitalization for a while. We lost loved ones during COVID-19. I know some friends in Uganda who, by the time their brother passed away from the hospital, they had spent over 250 million Uganda shillings. Divide that by 30 to get the Kenyan equivalent, the Kenya shilling equivalent. That's close to around what? $60,000? Something like that. It was really, really a huge toll on their part. 60 to call it what, $80,000 actually, $70,000 to $80,000. So it's quite a lot of money. Now, in such an instance, you find somebody is financially stressed because they have been going through this treatment of a mother or a father or a sibling or a child for months beyond what the insurance cover provides. Maybe this individual they are treating does not have insurance cover anymore or has never had insurance cover, so they are forking out money from their own pocket. And therefore, they're becoming more and more financially stressed. So it's your responsibility to check in every so often as the employer. Also, engagement surveys. Every year, there's a standard series of questions. There are 12 standard questions that we run in surveys. We've supported many companies to do 360-degree surveys. 360 means top, bottom, and sideways. People at the same level with you, peers, supervisors and superiors, and then subordinates, all giving feedback about one another. It helps to know what's not working such that you fix it. There's an English saying, a stitch in time saves 9. So don't wait for it to fall apart. And then there's a saying in the US, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But don't wait for it to get broke or broken, in other words. Don't wait for it to get broken to fix it. So instead of going for exit interviews, go for stay interviews. By the time a person is exiting, they have been disengaged and disgruntled for months, if not years. So try and have always on conversations, meaningful conversations with your team. How often do you take them out for tea, for coffee, for picnics? Engage them, talk to them, have one-on-one conversations, ask them, do we support you with everything you need in this organization? Do we provide for you the tools of trade? And if you can't, especially for startup founders and owners, be honest. Tell your employees what you can afford and what you can't afford. Let them know. If they feel like they can't manage to break even with the kind of maybe salaries you can afford to pay them or the kind of benefits you give them, it's fine. You can't be everything for everyone all the time. So do what you can for those you can afford to support. And if you can't, be honest with them. Times are hard, but for goodness sake, employees will understand an employer who is selfless and who is trying their utmost. They will understand, trying their utmost to stay compliant, to provide for the employees, to sustain and pay them on time, and a good take home, a good wage, and give them good access to benefits that allow them to enjoy their life. Yeah, I hope that answers the question, Grace.
Yes, it does. And I like the idea of the stay interviews. But there's a question that has come from Duku here, which sort of probably goes with the trends. We are now into the era where we are doing fixed term contracts as opposed to long-term service. So how do we then have engaged, do we build resilience during hard times?
Okay. So there's nothing about the length of the contract that defines engagement. You can have very short-term contracts with very highly engaged people, and you can have very long-term contracts with very highly disengaged people. So it's not the length of the contract. It's the work environment that we create. It's the culture. Do we create an enabling workplace culture? Do we foster and encourage open and honest communication? Do we have an open door policy? There's an organization I walked into. The doors are physically open, but nobody enters them because it's a culture. People fear supervisors. It's an open door policy. Physically, the doors are open, but the employees do not walk in because they fear. They're like, oh, what is my boss going to think of me when I go and tell him that I have financial problems or that I have relationship problems or that my child is sick? Imagine something like that. It's not your fault. Your child is sick. This child needs care. You need to be going to take care of them in hospital, or your parent is sick. So surely there are certain things that can be done, all right, that can be done to support employees to become more and more engaged and much more and more productive. Also give rewards. Every year, do you have bonuses? Do you have a bonus scheme in place? Do you have a scheme that recognizes and rewards employee of the year, employee of the quarter, employee of the month? And you put their picture on the wall. You go to KFC, you find people's pictures on the wall, employee of the month. And these are simple jobs. These are waiters and waitresses at KFC. It's a simple job. It's a really simple job. They don't earn an incredible sum of money. But you can see the level of engagement. They're happy to do what they do. They're excited. They're proud. Some of them are delivery agents of Glovo and these kinds of companies that deliver food, fast food to people's homes and offices. But you can see some of them. So engagement does not need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money for engagement initiatives, but you need to be creative. You need to think outside of the box to find a way in which you can engage them. Communicate, communicate, communicate. You can never over-communicate. Let the staff know. Do not keep your job evaluation results, job grading results in a closet, tightly sealed and locked with a key, and the safe has a combination that needs 3 people to open it. No. Your talent management tools, your talent management system, your succession plans should not be a top secret. Staff should know what is in store for them after 3 to 5 years of working for you. Will they go to the next level? If so, what does the next level look like? How much does it pay? Should they stay with you long term, or should they quit and start looking for something quickly? So communicate. Communicate your succession plans openly. Communicate your promotion criteria for promotion. Communicate who the best performers are and reward them. Recognize and reward them, and ensure that you have flexible benefits that allow people to enjoy working for you long term. Grace?
Right. And it's a good thing that you raised communication, because I think Ruto here was saying, is there a relationship between communication and employee engagement? Does it have any impact?
Yeah, I've just answered that question, Mr. Ruto.
Yeah, I think that was in line with that. But there's another question here. How do you encourage engagement in a hybrid work environment?
Just like in a work environment where people report in person. It's just that the tools are virtual. They are not physical, but they are virtual. So communicate actively. Have those chat groups, WhatsApp, Slack, Discord. You have those chat groups, Telegram that you can log into. Have access to virtual tools like the Google Docs, for example, or WordPress, for example, or Dropbox, for example. You have those collaborative tools in the office, or Microsoft Office 365. There are certain tools that allow you to collaborate, word share, and so on and so forth. These collaborative work tools allow the entire team to see what the other members of the team is doing, and how they can plug in and support. Especially in project management teams, Slack is very, very useful. I'm not pursuing a particular application over the other. No, that's not the point of this conversation. I'm just giving examples. These collaborative work tools, the most simple and most basic is Google Sheets. In Google Sheets, you have your Excel spreadsheets, you have your Word documentation, you have all these Google Docs that you can share and collaborate on together on projects. And everybody can see what the other person has done collaboratively. So this is very, very useful to help in building engagement.
All right. Richard, I don't know that you have a question as I look for whatever else is here.
Yes, thank you very much, Joseph, for those very wonderful insights into the discussion of disengagement or de-engagement. One of the questions I could like to ask you, you know of this frog that stayed in water that was slowly boiling until to a point where it became a problem to the frog. Before you dive into surveys, what are the telltale signs that, yes, let me do survey? Are there telltale signs before the fire start burning?
Excellent question. The boiling frog syndrome. The frog stayed in water too. Initially, the water was cold, so the water started warming up nicely. And then by the time the frog woke up to leave the water, he was cooked. He could no longer leave. Telltale signs. You must do surveys regardless. You don't have to wait for the environment to become heated up, negative, or even toxic. Just have it as permanent furniture. The same way you have a payroll management system that pays salaries every month. Have an employee engagement survey that happens every year, regardless. Have meetups quarterly with your team, regardless. You can be broke, you can be struggling, you can be in a bad mood. It doesn't matter. You must do those things because they are required of you. Serious employers are not afraid of doing 360-degree surveys. Even if the feedback is negative, you need it because they say a complaining customer is one that you can keep. When a customer stops complaining, for those of you who are in customer experience, then you know that's a customer you've just already lost. When a bank finds a customer who stops complaining, you just find that that person has left that account and gone and opened in another bank because they're no longer getting the services they expect from that particular bank. They stopped complaining. There was no need to complain anymore. Yeah, they moved on to something else. So don't wait for things to get so bad because by then it's too late to do damage control. By the time you have strikes, some of you work for big employers, especially fast-moving consumer goods manufacturers. You have lots of employees, 100, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. Some of you work like for sugar corporations, those big employers, steel rolling mills, roofing sheet mills, and so on. You need to have a continuous engagement environment, activities. Okay? Have so many conversations with these people long before things go south and make it permanent furniture. Make it relevant all the time. Let people always come through for you. Let people always, have these conversations. Don't wait for things to go bad, Richard. Engagement surveys must be annual at the very least.
The other question is, like in customer care, we have Net Promoter Score. We also have customer satisfaction. Do we have such like tools of measurements? in customer employee engagement?
Absolutely. Employee Engagement Index, EAI, it is there. Employee Satisfaction Index, ESI, they are there. So satisfaction is a lower version of engagement. You can be satisfied but disengaged. Did you know that? You're just coasting along. So we don't just measure employee satisfaction. We go beyond measuring employee satisfaction to measure employee engagement, because engagement is stronger than satisfaction. Okay? Engagement is a level higher than satisfaction, and it actually means you could stay. Yeah. So that is something we need to do. I love what Herbert has said. Herbert Zake, my friend, is saying some signs of disengagement could be late coming to work. It could be absenteeism, okay? But even before absenteeism, there's also something called presenteeism. I don't know if you know the difference in absenteeism and presenteeism. Engagement is actually a form of presenteeism. Disengagement is a form of presenteeism. Presenteeism means I show up at work. I'm not absent, but whilst I'm at work, what am I doing? Am I actually contributing positively, or I'm just coasting along, filling a seat and waiting for my end of month to get paid? So you're present, but you're not really productive. You're not productive. You're just there. You're showing up, getting paid at the end of the month, but you're not really.
Right, and probably on that line, there's a comment by Barbara, but I'm just wondering, what is the role of leadership when it comes to staff engagement?
Everything rises and falls on leadership. That's a quote from John C. Maxwell in his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. A bad leader will lead to serious levels of disengagement. But it's not necessarily true that a good leader cannot have disengaged employees. It's possible. Like we said, people are at different levels in their careers. Their motivations are different. If somebody has outlived their time in a particular organization, you can't force them. In fact, you should just support them to be available to leave. Okay? Yeah, so they are physically present, but psychologically disengaged and absent. Encourage them to find something to do. Actually have those conversations. When you have the talent conversations with them, be honest, be brutally honest. Ask them what they would rather do. What would they rather do? Where would they rather be? And if the answer is, I'd rather be there than here, support them to go there. Support them to go there. They'll remember you. Be their mentor. Be their coach. Don't feel bad. When people leave you, don't feel bad. Unless they leave too many at the same time, that's a huge attrition. So you don't want that, because then it destabilizes your production. But go ahead. Slowly but surely support them if they actually want to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a question by Maslin who is saying, is the stay interview same as appraisal? And if not, what is the difference?
No, it's not an appraisal. A stay interview is not an appraisal. These are always on conversations that we have with staff. And it's part of the, as you're doing your engagement index, it can also be considered as a stay interview. An engagement index is also a stay interview, because you want them to stay. You don't want them to leave. Appraisal is different. Let's not confuse an appraisal with an engagement index, with a 360-degree survey, with a talent survey. Those are different things. The talent survey is a different matter altogether. You're mapping your talent for succession in 3 to 5 years' time. Then appraisal, we know. It's looking in the rear view mirror. You've already done the work. It's been a month, it's been a quarter, it's been a half, it's been a year. What have you done? How have you scored? How have you performed? Then the other one is the obviously stay interview, where I've just explained what that is. It's very, very similar to an engagement survey, because you want to know what makes people stay. How can they be supported to stay? And so on and so forth.
So, and there's another question. How can you have engaged staff without, when you are on low budget, like not monetary?
Oh, let me tell you something. I run a startup, this business over here, Precision HR. I will not brag or boast of the highest salaries. No, I can't tell you that. But we enjoy camaraderie with the staff. Some of the lowest paid people are the most engaged. engagement and pay are not directly correlated. Some of the highest paid people in banks with all sorts of benefits are highly disengaged, and the environments are very, very polarized. And I'm not picking on banks. It could be any employer. It could be any employer. So low pay and engagement are not directly correlated. You can have low pay, but with very high engagement, because people understand the value that they bring to the organization. They are appreciated, they are encouraged, they are supported. There is open communication. When there is no money, the people are told why, and they see the cash flows of the company. It's not something that is done in secrecy. It's done in the open. They see, because they are part and parcel of the business development effort. They are part and parcel of the invoice collection effort. They are part and parcel when we are processing payments to pay taxes, when we're processing payments to give salaries and to give benefits and to take people, staff out for staff engagement. They see these things and they can still be engaged even when they know that the employer may not be doing financially very well. It's very possible. So those two things are not necessarily correlated. You can actually be fixing the wrong problem. You cannot fix engagement with money. You can throw a lot of money into the pit and it doesn't bring you any 1% increment in engagement because the culture is toxic. What is causing the disengagement is the toxic culture, not the salaries. Some of the best paid employees in the world are extremely toxic and they have a horrible workplace culture. And therefore they're highly disengaged as well. Yeah.
That's true. And that takes me to the question by Wallace. Is it possible to exactly know what motivates employees, especially in the dynamic nature of human beings?
The survey will tell us. It's possible, yeah, it's possible. We're not listening. Some employees tell us they want to work from home, but we're insisting be at the office. If your job, I was talking to Mr. Kasim of Safaricom. We were together with Kasim in Arusha. Mr. Kasimo, yeah, of Safaricom, the HR director of Safaricom. We were together. He gave a keynote at one of our IHRM conferences in Arusha. I believe it was 2 years ago, Grace, wasn't it? And he said at Safaricom, at that time, their staff members, especially the ones in the call center, had not gone to office for over 2 years. This was in 2022. The employees had not been to the office for over 2 years. 2022 or 2023, something like that. They hadn't been to office for over 2 years. I think it was 2023. Why? Because the tools required to do the office, the job of a call center agent, they had it at their homes, on their laptops. All you needed was a pair of headsets with a microphone, and you have access to the application. So you can support the clients as they call in. And these are people, even at the office at Safaricom, they were allowed to come in shorts on a Monday. You know, especially in the call center, if you're not customer facing, because call center is not customer facing. It's a back office job. It's front office insofar as the digital or the virtual is concerned, but it's back office insofar as interaction, face-to-face is concerned. So staff do not see the customers that they serve. They just hear their voices and they support them and provide solutions to them on the phone. So that means they do not have to be physically present in an office. They could go in shorts, they could go in sandals, and it's okay. It's the culture. Respond. What are your staff telling you? You're insisting that people must come in suits. Suits are expensive to buy and to dry clean. Your staff are telling you, we don't have the money to keep dry cleaning. These are young lawyers who have just left university. They are broke. But you're insisting, come to work in a suit from Monday to Friday, even when you're not going to court. Why? We support law firms and they tell us, we don't want to come to work in suits every day. These are young people, young men and women. Let us put on suits when we're going to court. But when you're just coming to sit in the office to do legal, to draft legal documents, why must I be in a suit? Can't I just be in shirt sleeves? Okay, maybe with a tie. On a Friday, do you insist on people going in those dark, stuffy suits every Friday? Have a dress down day, for example, where people feel like, you know, their mind is relaxed, their dress code is relaxed, right? So there are so many. Engagement is something we cannot conclude because we can't talk about engagement until the chickens come home to roost. There are so many things we can do, small things that don't cost money, but we should listen. Are we listening to what the staff are telling us in those engagement surveys? Or are we tone deaf? Do not be tone deaf. You will lose your people. Your most productive staff will go, especially these Gen Zs and millennials. You know, millennials are now a bit advanced, but the Gen Zs especially, you know, they love things to be quick. If they're saying let's adopt digital ways of work, but by all means adopt digital ways of working. Don't insist on the old school ways, because digital is faster, it's more efficient. You know, you call for a meeting and people are there for 2 hours. You order samosa, mandazi, mahamri, tea, coffee. Why? It could have been an email. Was it necessary to call a meeting and people are driving from Entebbe to Kampala to come for a meeting, which could have been done on Google Meet or on Zoom? Grace.
I know, right? I belong to that school. Why? Kwanza, a meeting without food should be an email. At least food will make me drive that far. But I probably just towards the end, because I think we can't finish all the questions that are coming in. Is somebody saying if the employees are always talking about bad leadership and lack of equity and inclusion, how then do you mitigate?
Mitigate what?
If people are complaining about bad leadership and lack of inclusion.
Are their claims legitimate? Or are they valid? If it's bad leadership, is it actually true that there's bad leadership, or they're just whining? Sometimes employees complain a lot. I have always said in HR is quite a thankless job. You can never seem to win all the time in HR. You're in a catch-22 situation most of the time. But if employees are complaining about something legitimate, have you looked at it? Have you found ways to fix it? Have you taken your leaders for training? Have you taken them for coaching? Have you had one-on-one conversations with them and you tell them, by the way, the 360-degree survey results on you are not good. People say you're rude. People say you're stressing them. You don't listen. You don't delegate. You wear them out. Okay? Do something about it. Have those honest conversations. Can you always win? No. But can you always try? Yes. You can always keep trying to do better, to be better. Right? Yes.
And then finally, before you say thank you, there's a question on, because we had tied this topic to resilience. Somebody is saying, how does the variable resilience be linked directly to engagement? And can you change a disengaged employee to an engaged employee?
I'll answer the second question first. Yes, you can. If you fix the causes of disengagement, you can. Resilience means overcoming the challenges that are at the workplace, that are in the ecosystem. You know, the workplace is not just your office or your work environment, your clients. It's the government, it's the taxes, it's the neighborhood, it's the benefits, it's the culture permeating in your industry, in your sector. Some cultures are just difficult to deal with. There's a lot of poaching across the board. You know, you go to FMCG, you go to banking sector, you go to telecoms, they poach from each other a lot, especially the two top players in that industry. In any country you go to, you find employees who've been here, who have been there, and vice versa, and they keep going back and forth, back and forth. So that kind of poaching can also lead to, it's like it becomes impossible to meet their needs, because every time you're trying to fix it, the competitor has come and stolen them, or taken them, not really stolen, but taken them. We have 2 media houses in Uganda, TV media houses that did that to each other for a sustained period of like 2 years. They went for all the top newscasters and reporters of one media house and gave all of them an increment. They just doubled their salary and brought them to this other side. And 2 years down the road, it was not sustainable. It became expensive for them. So again, some of them went back where they're from and into other industries as well. Thank you, Lorraine, for your feedback. Thank you, Julie Wavamuno, as well. Thank you.
There's somebody who's asking how to get in touch with you. Faith Miracle.
info@precisionhr.co.ug. Maybe somebody can just type it in the chat that's available to all, the webinar chat. info@ precisionhr.co.ug. That's how to reach us. You could reach me, you could reach any of my team members at Precision HR. That email address is the official one. It's used by a number of us. And we should be able to get back in touch with you. You can also go to our website, www.precisionhr.co.ug. You can reach us in any of those. Yes.
All right. Richard, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm rekindled. I'm rekindled in terms of how to create a connection between engagement and productivity, because we know if employees are disengaged, then it is the equivalent of stealing. Not easily stealing, but if your energies are low, even if you don't steal money, then you are not productive. We should find ways of making you increase your engagement so that you can become more productive. Thank you so much, Joseph Ajal. I wanted to ask you about your usual energy, but because of time, let me not ask, because you are a very energetic person. You've trained me before. I wondered where do that come from? Where do you get that from so that you can keep on, you can become that battery says, never say die.
Never ready batteries. Okay.
Backup power premium.
Yes, backup power. Yes. Wow. Thank you, Richard. I found you extremely insightful as well. We were together in Mombasa at that IHRM convention when we went go-karting. I think your energy levels are equally hype. It's definitely about loving what you do. If you love what you do, it shows. I see Sarah, one of my clients, Sarah Nyadoi from Medical Teams International. We were together with them in Mbarara last week. Yeah, it's that energy that fuels me. It's just knowing what I do it impacts on lives, it impacts on people, it impacts on businesses and organizations. But allow me to make a small little appeal to our professional clients over here. And I speak on behalf of all the consultants, Zake, Nzula, Magoma, all of us, people. Please, intellectual property is hard to come by. To do what we do, and we make it seem so easy. It's 21 years of experience, good people. It's not that easy. It's travel across the world. Right now, I'm in a part of the world where I've had to travel for 26 hours to be with you. Not to be with you, but to be able to do certain things that are expected of me as a consultant in building intellectual property. You know, it requires painstaking effort. Sometimes you don't sleep enough. You sleep like 4 hours, or because you're trying to do all of this, and it costs money to put together intellectual property. It might look easy when we give you the slide deck or when we present, but try doing it. It's not as easy as it seems, right? It's expensive and it's painstaking effort. So our dear clients, allow me to say this. When we send you an invoice, when you send you a quotation and it says $1,000 only, please don't over squeeze, don't over argue and bargain and say, oh, you see, the budget is only $100. No. By the time we say it was $1,000, it's because we know the value. We have a team of 4 or 5 people working behind the scenes that you don't see. The tax advisor, the business development manager, the HR consultant, the executive assistant, and the person who's going to do the training. Yes,
the office rent.
The office rent, the taxes. Because if we close, or even certification fees, IHRM requires us to pay membership every year. HRMAU requires us to pay membership every year. ICF, if you're coming to me for coaching, I'll charge you because I know I have to pay my membership of ICF. I have to do my credential renewals. These things, I cannot tell you about them. They are hidden costs of doing business. But please, we love you, but support us also. Don't over squeeze, eh? We want to remain in business with you for another 50 years if possible. Yeah. Yes.
That's true. Now, thank you. I think on that note, I think I'm going to organize, and you better be a panelist representing Uganda. I think we're going to have a webinar on the challenges faced by consultants. I think we need to do that. because I have a lot of people here, and I've been hearing a lot, people wanting to quit and becoming consultants. And I think I get a lot of requests. Let's have coffee. I am facing a hard time at work and I want to become a consultant. I think, Richard, please remind me if I forget. Before we close this year, we need to have that conversation so that those who are planning to leave, they can understand what we go through to some extent and maybe prepare better for these challenges. Right, Ajal, your parting shot.
It's come so soon. When you're having a good conversation, it feels like it's quick, it's ending so quickly. Thank you. Thank you to Grace Nzula and Atara Solutions. Thank you to Richard J. Magoma and your team over there, Catherine C. Dandy. Obviously, I appreciate all of you for providing the platform. The Atara Solutions, Get It Right with Atara Solutions, every Tuesday for the last 4 years or 5 years, is really an amazing free webinar. We are giving back to our members, to our clients. Yes, there are places we charge you, don't get it. You know, we actually do charge you for certain things, but this one is not charged, it's free of charge. Thank you to all of you for joining us. We've had people on this call from the UK, from Sudan, from Kenya, from Canada, from the US, from Uganda, obviously, Tanzania, and so on and so forth. Members of HRMAU and HR Fan House, thank you so much for joining. Of course, my dear wife, Divine, who is on call, who has just joined us here the whole of this evening. Thank you for joining as well. And all our friends, our sisters, and our brothers from Uganda, Kenya, thank you so much. And from the UK and the US and Canada, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, I can't, that's it. I can't really go on and on.
Over to you. Faith has said, Joe, I'm coming for mentorship and I will not over-negotiate. So good. There you go.
The lesson has landed. Eh? In law, they say Odonjo.
Hey. All right, Richard, any remarks from you?
The point has done, John.
Yes, Richard. The point, Pesa Otas, Ruto has said. Richard, any comments from you?
Thank you very much, Joseph, for those delightful insights. Thank you so much, Atara Solutions, for creating this particular moment for us to come and remind each other, as the Bible says, remind them, even if they know. Thank you so much. God bless. Good night.
All right. Thank you very much, Richard. Ajal, I've just remembered, you owe me a Precision HR hoodie. Remember?
You have one. How many more do you want?
I don't have any. You didn't send. You remember they were out of stock the last time we spoke?
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Okay. I had even chosen the color.
The marketing
delivered. You're not keeping your friends engaged.
The marketing team will take care of it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Wow.
So I see Brian saying a typical negotiating by Grace. Of course, Brian, you know I have to do that.
Brian says, in short, no negotiation. Yes, Brian, please, no negotiation.
No negotiation. All right, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Ajal, for coming through on such short notice, and as well, just sacrificing your time to be here. I really appreciate, and I hope that this opens doors for you. Thank you, Richard, for also being here. I really appreciate. Thank you, the team at Atara Solutions, Catherine Sidandi, Jacinta, and everyone else. Thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate you. Our audience, we cannot do this without you. We really are grateful that you would join us from across the world. Thank you so much for making the time to be here and for listening in and staying through, even when our flyers say 9 o'clock and it's 9:24. We really appreciate. And my good friend Rebecca Kimau, I've seen you. Becky, congratulations on your graduation this Friday. I'm personally very proud of you, and I wish you the very best as you go to impact the world. So thank you, everyone. See you next Tuesday. We will be discussing how to spot trauma, PTSD in the workplace, and how it shows up in the workplaces. That's our topic for next week. And we shall see you on Tuesday from 8 o'clock here on Zoom, as we also listen. I'm telling you, we are on a Uganda roll. Last week was Uganda, today is Uganda, next week is also Uganda. But hey, information is power, and I hope that you're getting it right in your workplaces. Please follow us on Instagram at Atara Solutions. like our Facebook page, Atara Solutions, subscribe to our YouTube channel where we will have this recording. It will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, Get It Right with Atara Solutions. And we have shared a WhatsApp group. If you want to know what's coming up on Get It Right with Atara Solutions, please join us. That's where we share most of our flyers for continuity and all that. So without further ado, I think Joseph has shared his email address. Please reach out to them. They're going to help you with your staff engagement projects in your workplaces, do for you their surveys. Please don't do some of these things yourself. Get busy managing people and let other people also take on some of these extra duties for you. That is what we're here to do. So we appreciate you. Asanteni sana. And of course, Richard, for your interview preparation, please get in touch with him as well. And thank you, lovely people, and have yourselves a lovely, lovely, lovely night. Yeah, and in Kenya, happy holidays. This is a long weekend for us. So I wish you the very best, and see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you.